Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to some of you, and peace out to the rest of you. Hit the share button because the message is more important than the messenger. And I advise you all to go to my Buy Me a Coffee because I'm getting more active on there. And I'm putting some video, some audio, and some writing on there. Should be a big help for you guys. But there's more on there now to make it worth your while away. Let me also give two shouts out to S. Jock for coming through on the Cash App 2 times in a 24-hour period. From the bottom of my black heart and from the depths of my black mind, I really do appreciate that. Real red pill awareness isn't about blaming women who didn't do something for things they didn't do. And also for men who are red pill aware, recall that even when you fight the gender war, it's not about that. You may be fighting a war and we have to be militant about certain things, but it doesn't go as far as to blame those who didn't do something for what they did not do. We're not here for false accusations and false punishments. If that was the case, then my son would fight his sisters without their provocation, and I would have to side with him. But neither of these is true in my family. He doesn't fight them, certainly not unprovoked. And I don't just blindly assume that he's the one that's always right. He doesn't bite the heads off of women that don't bother him. And if he did, he wouldn't expect me to support him in that knowingly. And he said as much. This awareness and even fighting in this gender war is specifically about what Westernicians have done wrong. Starting with what they knowingly did, knowing it to be wrong, and wouldn't have tolerated from us for 1 second. Be it about couple formation or the general benefit to each other between men and women. It's about not only what they don't want us to know, but can't respect us for not knowing, but also about how the trifling insist that their ungrown sons take care of them like the sons are grown. Burdening early teenage sons with things like heavy lifting that could hurt their backs because they need to move and won't hire or can't hire movers, just being one example. On Facebook, I've seen where some men say things that are militant and they're warranted. We have all also seen or heard some man say something that is provoked but not warranted. And we've also heard and seen men say things that are unprovoked and unwarranted. There are Facebook groups in which men say things like, we do not promote dark-skinned women in this group. They don't say we do not promote women, but they'll say we do not promote dark-skinned women in this group. And the reason is that they got tired of hearing sisters complain about colorism and then being colorist towards black men, dark or light skin. That makes sense if nothing else does. Then they also turn around and say dumb things like, I am paying for a damn thing, but they want a wife and a submissive one at that. And while I don't believe that you can buy submission, what they're saying is they ain't paying for a damn thing. That means even if they can. So in other words, she pays the cost for him to be the boss. And we don't realistically expect that. Red pill awareness is not about getting even with women who didn't do something for the things that they did not do. The gender war is about fighting back, largely by evading their offense, countering misandry. And that does call for some double standards, like polygyny being okay and polyandry being seen as the nasty, disgusting abomination it is, and submission or cooperation, if you think it's a better term, being necessary from a wife, while husbands demand wives stifle their materialism and instincts to shop at a husband's expense. Sorry, I'm tired. These are double standards that are not only necessary for some sort of stability, but women themselves demand them. In spite of this isn't a reason for us to start off hostile to women we don't know from a can of paint. The games they play from the gender war are reasons to maintain distance from Western women if you don't know them and have to be around them, but not to assume that a woman you don't know is trying to destroy you and any other man that isn't 6'5" and jacked and ripped and wealthy. It's not that. If she says enough, she'll confess on herself anyway. It's a reason to not blindly trust her, but to not assume that she's guilty either. The secrecy is a reason to assume she won't expose the games even if she wants to, but not to assume what she has done to undeserving men you don't know either. Time will tell you what you need to know if you really need to know anyway. The truth is, if we insist that these women come to us with their fathers and put marriage with submission and polygyny on the table, we'll cut down on the BS anyway. Most of us are going to be single anyway, statistically speaking, so to be an exception and commit your labor and resources to a lady, she might as well come and seek you out if you're stuck in the West for now and she wants to get a hold of a good man before he leaves. They know they should have to do extra to get what they want anyway, and that's not hatred talking, but experience. However, we're not here to even so much as raise our voices against those who didn't do anything. On the flip side, this unwillingness to be the aggressor, especially since we already didn't start this war from jump, doesn't mean we're willing to be the victims or be silent while other men are encouraged to be such either. Me being a Muslim black man doesn't mean that I will follow Shadid Muhammad or the non-famous Jafar Johnson on Facebook when he talks about gender like it's black men's fault. As I stated, some double standards are necessary, and our condemnation of women's sexual looseness in the West does not warrant them condemning men for the same thing, because most men in the West aren't sexually out there like that and aren't even allowed to be. We have been too easy, and I've stated that much, to be fair, but we aren't actually out there in the same numbers, racking up the same body counts like these Westernishas are. Let alone stepping up and saying to them that they should pay for these high body counts. There are many men that are not fathers, higher numbers that are virgins, and few men that are really experienced with many women intimately or even romantically, since being used or targeted for the attempts to use them is an experience that counts anyway. Because see, being targeted to be used, just being targeted to be used by one, it's not only not an experience that can help you with the next wife or girlfriend, but it is an experience that will harm you with the next wife or girlfriend you even try to be a husband or boyfriend to, because it increases the chance that the next woman will try the same thing, just because even good women don't want to be better than the last chick. And that's because they believe normal men don't deserve better than the worst they've ever gotten. I'm not here to tell you that the black woman in the West or elsewhere who tries to be like the Western black woman is our woman or is our ally or our future wife. On one hand, I do advocate against blaming innocent women for that of which they're innocent, but the reason I advocate against Western sisters is the same reason for which I advocate against Western white women or Westernishas in general. Asian women raised in the West are just as judgmental, trifling, mean-spirited, and impossible as the Western raised white women and sisters are. The difference is that the white woman is impossible to the white man. Bill Burr joked about that. The Western sister is impossible to the black man, be he Western or not. You've seen these big sisters run off even our cousins from the home continent or from the islands. Likewise, the Asian woman raised in the West runs off the Asian man no matter where he grew up, and a Chinese woman in China is doing the same thing with her materialism and liberation. I'm advocating for leaving alone all of the Westernishas who bring materialism, or all women, period, who bring materialism to the table when they're competing with you in resource amassment while demanding you have more resources, because their life priorities are the same way they eliminate you and most other men they will later blame for not being available. However, more deeply, the reason I advocate you leave such broads alone is because they won't tell you that that is the game. They're rigging the game and not telling you it's rigged. And they're even hiding it from you when they are close to you genetically, because the XY chromosome in which your genes are arranged are enough to make them believe that even you, the son or their brother or their cousin or grandson, do not deserve to reproduce the way they think they deserve and are entitled to by default. You're never done proving your worth even to them, and they share your DNA. Imagine that. So no, this isn't about blaming innocent ladies, let alone blaming women for being women. But the militancy I have is what you need for the lying, the silence, the conspiracy, and the deception in which many are engaged, even when they're related to you by blood. but only for those engaged in these things. That may be many of them, especially in the West, but we're not here to blame those uninvolved, nor to assume that the ones we don't know are involved. This is the balance we should seek. You can let any particular lady prove to you which one she is before you assume either way, but you should neither assume guilt nor innocence overall regarding those whom you don't know well, and you shouldn't be obsessed with trying to figure it out, especially when you're not required to put her in a position of trust. This balance is not easy to maintain at all. It's not easy to maintain all the time at first, not even sometimes at first, but it is necessary, and it gets easier over time. Maintaining that balance allows you to be aware and work towards leaving without drawing attention to yourself or your awareness. Realize that in the event that a guilty broad knows you are aware, she would try to render you unable to leave. And if a woman knows you are unaware, she will disrespect you anyway for fun or use you for benefits because she can, or she'll do both because she can. You want to shoot for invisibility as part of the balance, not to impress her with your knowledge of her games, nor appear to be naive and therefore a mark when you're not. She doesn't want any man to leave the paradigm of the West, be you aware or not. If she doesn't think much about you, though, she'll not question if you're aware, and you need not worry about if she's innocent or ill-intentioned. Also, when I say innocent, though, you must, in your balance, understand that innocence doesn't mean just not playing these games, but informing men of the games if she's aware of an appropriate time and way to do so. If she doesn't know you well enough to discuss that, fine. She doesn't know you well enough. It's not appropriate, and it might not be fair to bring that up if you don't know each other that well. But if she knows you well enough to know what you need to know and to be able to tell you, she is innocent when she tells you and betrays the so-called sisterhood, not when she just decides to not help a trifling chick deceive or use you. You can find it easy to be balanced when you choose and attain invisibility around these broads in public and work spaces, because you have more room to make an error in an initial assessment, and you have more time before you have to get it right about any particular lady. You may not have to work closely around or with her in most cases anyway, and so your invisibility buys you extra time if you have to even assess her relative guilt or innocence. As long as you aren't required to work in a way that puts you in her attention, you're not required to really assess her, let alone to get it right. You can stay focused on working and saving to escape. And remember, that is the goal. Before I go, I'll tell you one more reason that you want to maintain mental balance, even despite the mental anguish that comes with the awareness of the games and deception. When you do escape to a place in which that's not the standard MO, you won't be paranoid on one hand, blaming the innocent in the traditional areas, nor naive on the other hand, an easy mark for the rare hyenas in these traditional areas. Because though they may be rare, they will seek out naive men and get to them first, because they'll be the first ones to swoop in on such naive men, and you won't be that guy. Maintaining balance will help you to avoid either of these extremes and ruin that for which you worked. A chance to be taken seriously by women who deserve to be taken seriously themselves, and to be your wives and children's mothers, and to be treated as well as you already know Westanisha treated community Dingaling Tyrone, for whose sins she sought to punish you and me when we weren't invisible. I hope that this helps. Thanks for listening. As always, black heart, black mind, black out. Assalamu alaikum, black heterosexual non-select male power, because she doesn't like it, and black patriarchy until extinction of Judgment Day. Thank you for flying with us again here on Jet Black Airways, with a phrase Jet Black's also a verb. Keep jetting black with us until the wings and the wheels fall off. Gender, justice, forever.